Do you feel like the concept of God's mercy may be a little elusive? Have you ever been in a position where mercy was your decision to make? I pondered these things in Kansas once, at this place, the St. Joseph the Woodworker Shrine in Valley Falls, Kansas. A truly unique and magical place, as much of Kansas is, believe it or not. I was there in September 2024, and while there, I did ponder God's mercy, and I did have an opportunity to show mercy. I found it to be a highly spiritual and moving experience, and I recorded my account of it at the hotel later that night. So stick around while we listen to that account and check out some pictures from the site to accompany it. And in the process, maybe we can untangle a few questions about mercy and a supposedly all-powerful God. So I'm going to let the recording I made on the day do most of the talking in this video. I only took a finite number of pictures, of course, but I'll try to stretch them out and keep it visually interesting. Maybe I'll throw in some future self reaction shots here and there. Also, when you hear the wind in the background, that recording was made inside the shrine. But I do think all the context you need can be found in the recording. So without further ado, let's get that going. Here now is the recording I made on September 7th, 2024 at my hotel, which was in Lawrence, Kansas. Okay. St. Joseph the Woodworker Shrine. It's up on this grassy hill. It's a grass path to get to it. It's this spire. It's a singular steeple. And it just has like a door that's like the front door of a house. And you open it up and you go in, and there's a guest book to your left, and also to your left a stained glass window and a little table with a prayer for St. Joseph, a kneeling altar, some free Tootsie Rolls, a donation cup, and a vase, which I guess people can put a candle in if they want to. Right across from the door, there's a window with a Mary on one side and a Joseph on the other, and they both have babies, which means either two Jesuses or Jesus had a sibling. I don't know. And then there's a bench on the other wall with 4 little Jesus paintings. Okay, so first of all, the wind it's been very windy here. It's very nice, very nice. But walking up that path, it was just, you could just feel, I don't know, there was a tranquility to it. You get to the top of the hill, and then going into the threshold of the door, closing the door, it just, I don't know, it was another world. You could hear the wind very clearly blowing around you very loudly. But inside you were not getting hit by the wind, and it was very calm inside. So I didn't know what to do. I'm not a big prayer. I feel like when I pray, I tell God my plans kind of thing, and then it gets used against me. I don't know if that's the way I should be looking at it, but that's the way it seems to be. I felt compelled to kneel at the altar there and just read. I didn't read it out loud, but I read the prayer that they had laminated and hanging up, the prayer of St. Joseph. And all through the prayer, it says, have mercy on me, like God, like telling God, have mercy on me. Christ, have mercy on us, have mercy on us. Oh, by the way, one of our dog's names is Joseph, so there was an extra feeling there. Anyway, I read it, and it was like, oh yeah, it took my mind to a place where, here's the thing, if we need to ask God to have mercy on us, what I think that means, what that ultimately is not mercy in life, because the point of being alive is to suffer. Being alive is to suffer and to feel all the feelings, to feel joy and to feel suffering, to know the difference. What I think the mercy is, what the actual grace of God is that our creator, or if you want to look at it, the people who, the person, the being who thought us into life, who spoke us into life, because we are just a part of a giant central figure that is living all these lives through us. It is living multiple lives through us to know all these different things inside its own creation, inside its own mind. So the mercy is the ability to access the Akashic record when we are dead, to access all of our memories when we are dead and relive them and do whatever we want. To be timeless beings that can inhabit multiple bodies at any given time. That is the mercy of God. And I felt that in that prayer. Even though the prayer is very simple. Okay, so after that, I immediately noticed to the left of the table was a little dead mouse laying there. He was laying on his side, and I got the impression that sorry, I don't know. I don't know if I'm misgendering the mouse. I don't want to call it it, but I don't know if it was male or female. The mouse, I believe, fell from one of the rafters above. I think that's probably how the mouse died. I don't know. That kind of struck me struck an emotional chord for me. But my immediate thought was, oh, God didn't have mercy on that. But obviously that's not the kind of mercy that, yeah, we're all gonna die. So here's the big thing. After that, I saw the mouse, and then I saw what I thought was a cricket struggling, kicking its legs, laying on its back. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna help. I felt the theme of mercy and the theme of like giving a living creature an improvement in their life. And I was like, okay, I'm going to help this cricket bug thing. So I didn't want to touch it. I wasn't totally sure what it was, but I took my card from the my hotel key card, and I tried to flip the bug over. I did. I was able to, but it kind of freaked out and flew for a minute and then landed back on its back. We went through that multiple times. And I was like, okay. And I got more into it. I felt like I had to help it. I had to help it somehow. And I don't know if it was just like I was like driven by reading the prayer or like seeing the dead mouse or what. But I was like, first I was like, I need to get it back on its feet. But then I was like, I think it's dying because it can't just like fly upright, even because clearly I got it right side up and it didn't stay right side up. But it also wasn't cooperating with me. I could because I was trying to scoop it onto the card key and just like take it outside because I was like it probably would rather die out on this nice day in the grass in the wind than in this little steeple thing on a concrete floor. And it looked like it was struggling, you know. And there was mouse poop all over the floor. I'll say that, not all over, but there was some. Like a bug cares. I don't know. Like they might, but this bug, they were not cooperating with me. So I ended up taking the hotel key and kind of like pushing it along the floor toward the door. It's not a very big building, but so but it was like struggling against it a little bit, but kind of going with it. So I got it to like the middle of the floor, and I sat down on the bench. And I just thought, and I saw it in perspective. I could see it right in front of me, and then the mouse sitting in the distance, and how it was like, all right, the mouse, its spirit was gone. It was just an empty vessel. This cricket bug thing was still kicking. It was laying there, slowing down, taking a breather. I was taking a breather. I took communion. I ate a gummy. And then after that, I used the wrapper from the gummy and pushed him onto sorry, I might be misgendering the cricket bug thing. I scooped the cricket bug thing onto the hotel key, and then I just lifted it, and it went with me. It cooperated this time. And I opened the door and I took it outside. And then when we got outside, it kind of like slipped down and then fell onto the ground, but it was okay. But it was on the concrete. And I was like, okay, well, it probably wants to be in the grass rather than sitting here on the concrete. So I went down, and then this time it was kind of on its side, and I noticed it was not a cricket at all. It was some kind of black hornet with a huge stinger that had to have been like an inch or more long.
Okay, stop. I got to jump in here. That is not a hornet. That is a cricket, and that is not a stinger. That is an ovipositor. It's used to lay eggs. I had absolutely no idea at the time, not until I actually zoomed in on the picture. So, yeah, it's a female cricket. But here's a little more of my 2024 naivete. We'll watch it together before we continue.
So at this point, it was an adversarial thing that could sting me. Maybe could have stung me all along. But then again, it's old and whatever.
Whatever. Yeah, not adversarial. Wasn't going to sting anyone. Probably was old. But continue.
I picked it up again. Picked the hornet former cricket bug thing up on the key.
Just go on.
Dumped them in the grass. They were on their back in the grass, kind of kicking again, and I flipped them over just perfect so that they were upright, like leaning with like their front legs or arms or whatever they are over a large blade of grass, just like looking at the sky. And it just stayed there, and it was fine in that position. It was not struggling. I could see its antenna moving or whatever, its head thing. And that's where I left it. And I got in my car and I thought about all of that together. And I'm not patting myself on the back like I did something good or I'm good for this, but I was able to grant some degree of mercy to another being, a small being that could have fucked me up. Yeah, a small being that probably doesn't get a lot of empathy from people either, probably gets fucked up regularly by other people or gets avoided because it fucks up other people. So I was able to give it, I believe, and maybe it wanted to die in the mouse poop. I don't know, but I believe that I was able to position it.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I have to interrupt again and throw a little more cold water on this. You believe this, you believe that, but no one was fucking that cricket up, and that cricket wasn't fucking anyone else up either. But that's beside the point. The idea that outside was more merciful than the inside is just your personal opinion, old self from a year ago. For all you really know, the cricket came into the shrine to die. For all you really know, the cricket preferred the shrine. For all you really know, perhaps the more merciful action would have been to stomp the cricket and put it out of its misery completely. Not saying that's the answer, just saying you don't know. But please, continue with your naive reasoning.
Because it looked like it was struggling when I found it, and then it was definitely not struggling when I left it. And it was looking at the sky, and if it's dying, then like, yeah, maybe that's what it comes down to, is like, maybe that's part of the mercy, is like a good death. Although we don't all get those either. I don't know. Maybe you can just struggle your whole life and it all comes down to the death at the end. And like, maybe it's just a good death in the end. And you're like, all right, this is what I meant to get to. So anyway, but I got in my car and I fucking cried. I cried over the fucking hornet that I thought was a cricket. And I cried about its death. I cried that the hornet was dying, but I cried joy that it got to look at the sky while it died on a nice day in the wind in Kansas.
In Kansas. So, yeah, that was my experience at the St. Joseph the Woodworker Shrine in Valley Falls, Kansas. It was a very welcome experience, and I felt like Kansas overall exceeded my expectations. The shrine is only 40 minutes from Lawrence, which is a really cool little town full of people who swear a lot. It's also 30 minutes from Topeka, Kansas, which I found to be not quite as cool, but nonetheless full of people who swear. There is, however, a lot of cool stuff in the area, and in particular, a lot of death culture in Kansas. The people there like to remind you about bleeding Kansas and the claim that the Civil War actually started there, even if South Carolina gets credit for the first shots. It's definitely a vibe there in Kansas. So I'd really like to go back. I'd like to check out more of the western side of the state. In any case, don't dismiss it when you're traveling through. I went to a few more spots than this when I was there, so maybe I'll have some more Kansas adventures to come in these videos. But for now, I hope this one sits well with you and maybe adds some perspective to the concept of mercy. A theme I had no intention of exploring when I walked in that little door, but I'm very glad that I did. All right, I hate to say it, but like and subscribe.